Way back in the early 2000s, we had a little thing called Sky, a magical box that would beam pretty colours and flashy noises directly into your brain for a ridiculous price. Unless your parents were penny pinchers, in which case you might have had NTL, Telewest Broadband, or even boring old Freeview. Yippee! When we first got Sky in 2001, it was like a whole world of endless possibilities had opened up for me. Finally, I could see everything that was on TV, I could play mindless video games just by pushing a button, and I could even order Domino's pizzas for free whenever I wanted. Until I realised that it wasn't free, and my parents locked me in the cupboard for a whole year. See, that was the problem with all the fun things on Sky. It cost extra money, and with the service being expensive enough already, you had no chance of your parents letting you enjoy all this stuff on a regular basis. So usually, you had to stick with the kids channels, and that's what we're talking about today. This was like a whole dimension in itself, a list of mystical portals that would whisk you away to hours of entertainment. Like Netflix, only with more toy adverts. So let's run through the entire channel guide and see the state of kids TV from 20 whole years ago. 601 was Cartoon Network, which needs no introduction. This was my favourite channel as a kid, and the number I'd always tap into the remote. My greasy fingerprints are still probably burned into the buttons on this thing. Cartoon Network was like comfort food. It felt like whenever you tuned in, there was always something good to watch. Cartoons during the day, cartoon theatre on the weekends, and cartoon obscurity late at night. Seriously, what was up with these channels in the dead of night? There'd always be something weird on, like the Magic Roundabout or Gadget Boy. When everyone in the house was asleep, I used to sneak downstairs just to watch this stuff, out of sheer fascination with how bizarre it was. Somebody, please, tell me I'm not alone here. A lot of my favourite shows from this time came from Cartoon Network, so I'll always be fond of it, especially the SETI era and all those crazy cartoon crossovers. It really was the golden age, and whenever I'd see the Eds cruising down the street on those hot summer evenings, you just felt the good vibes. 602 was Cartoon Network Plus, and a bit of a gimmick. Back then, the hot new thing for satellite TV was the creation of the Plus One channel. So, if you missed the show, you could tune into the Plus One channel to catch the same feed an hour earlier, even though it should technically be a -1 channel, since you're going back an hour rather than forward, but I guess the people behind this idea failed their maths exam. Still, this was a useful thing to have around back then, although what would usually happen is that you'd miss a show that aired 2 hours earlier and have no chance to rewatch it at all, making the whole entire concept completely pointless. 603 was Boomerang, which was originally the home for classic cartoons from the olden days of animation, like Looney Tunes or Tom and Jerry. Sometimes they'd even show things like Thunderbirds as well, so you had a good mix here. I have to say though, I never really watched Boomerang too much, usually only if something like Danger Mouse was on. It felt like something other kids always watched a lot, while I was more into the edgy modern cartoons of the time, like Robot Jones.
Robot Jones.
Boomerang fans, I apologise in advance. 604 was Nickelodeon, which I hardly think I need to explain. This was basically the rival to Cartoon Network when it came to kids TV, since they had plenty of cartoons of their own, though unlike Cartoon Network, they also had a lot of live-action stuff as well, most of which was pretty boring to me back then, so you can probably guess which one I preferred. I think the best thing about Nickelodeon was Rugrats, and all that trippy slime imagery. There was also Nick Replay on 605, another Plus One channel, and 606 was Nicktoons, which, predictably, showed only all the animated shows, so in case you couldn't get enough SpongeBob on normal Nickelodeon, well, that's what Nicktoons was for. Later on, there was also a channel called Nicktoonsters, which I think has just vanished into a black hole of obscurity. 607 was Trouble, which probably represents the bottom of the barrel for kids' TV. This was more like a channel for teenagers, with lousy sitcoms and cheesy things like that. As a kid, I didn't get this channel at all. There was no entertainment value whatsoever here. I used to hate it. It was nothing but trouble. That's so terrible. Also, there was the Plus One channel Trouble Reload on 608. Reload what? Can we reload a better channel? 609 was Jetix. Of course I talked about how Fox Kids turned into Jetix last time, but strangely, I never liked its new identity that much. I actually hated it when a channel would adopt a flashy new name. It felt like losing an old friend somehow. Still, Jetix has a ton of nostalgia value for people who grew up during this time. The thing I'd always watch the most was Sonic X, which probably isn't the greatest mark of quality. And who could forget PXG, the video game show that put all others to shame because it was hosted by a samurai. 610 was Jetix Plus One, which technically makes it Jetix 2. So we'll move on to Toon Disney, which was 613. What happened to 611 and 612? Did Disney Channel just go missing for a year or something? I've talked a bit about Toon Disney in the past. Much like Nicktoons, it was all about the animated Disney shows. I didn't watch it that much, but sometimes I couldn't resist tuning in for a bit of late-night Star Command action. 614 was Playhouse Disney, the preschool division, home to Bear in the Big Blue House and Dave Benson Phillips prancing around like a maniac.
Forward, backward, stamp your feet, cha-cha-cha, and forward, backward, stamp your feet, cha-cha-cha.
It's embarrassing to admit that out of all the Disney channels, this might be the one I saw the most. Even as a 9-year-old, sometimes I'd tune into this channel to remind myself of the happy days before I knew how to count to 10. Even at that age I was nostalgic. 615 was Discovery Kids, which I have absolutely nothing to say about. Yeah, I actually don't remember ever tuning in to watch this channel. If trouble was the bottom of the barrel for kids TV, then Discovery Kids was hiding in the dirt under the barrel, so I know nothing about this one, or any of the shows that were on. I think it's because it sounded educational, and that was the kiss of death for any kid. You don't want to learn at that age, you just want to rot your brain. 616 was CBBC, truly one of the all-time great kids channels. Just seeing those green blobs brings all the memories right back. This was during the time when after-school TV was still a thing. You didn't even have to tune in. You just come home from school, and Mum would have left this on the TV while she was making dinner in the kitchen.
Here is the story of Tracy Beaker, you better watch it.
Hey!
You'd get a double bill of Tracy Beaker, a bit of Arthur, a nail-biting episode of 50/50, and some slapstick madness with my boys the Chuckle Brothers. Probably followed by an episode of Raven to see if anyone would make it through that stupid obstacle course. And does anyone remember Clutter Nutters? Yeah, me neither. 617 was CBeebies, although it was more like CBeebies, am I right? Yeah, this was the CBBC equivalent of Playhouse Disney, only some of these shows are really burned into my brain, because they'd be on first thing in the morning when you'd get up for school. Just hearing the opening notes of the Thimbles is enough to give me a headache. And don't even get me started on Balamori.
What's the story in Balamori? Wouldn't you like to know?
I usually try to avoid this channel if I could help it, but I think a guilty pleasure for me was 64 Zoo Lane. There was just something chill about it.
64, 64, 64 Zoo Lane.
In fact, I think they should have made a video game for the Nintendo 64 called 64 Zoo Lane 64. Next channel, 618 was Nick Jr., another classic for the really young kids, and probably my favourite when I was little, since they used to show both Rugrats and Blue's Clues. I'd actually give Blue's Clues the award for the best preschool show of that time, and Nick Jr. deserves a lot of credit for its presentation as well. There's just something about that logo that works in so many ways. It's colourful, charming, and memorable. This was another comfort food channel. If you were ever feeling blue, you could always tune in late at night and watch a little bagpuss to drown your sorrows away. It truly was a channel just for you. 619 was Pop, a very strange channel that existed on the outer fringes of the kids' TV universe, like a distant moon on a galaxy far, far away. Mainly, they'd show a lot of cheap stuff that Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon didn't want. The main thing I recall watching on Pop was all the old Sonic cartoons, and that's about it. Plus they had a lot of music videos to promote a bunch of tacky compilation CDs. These were like a disease back then. God help you if someone ever brought in one of these to the school disco. 620 was Tiny Pop, like normal Pop, only for little people. I never watched it, so that leaves us with one last channel tucked away right at the bottom of the guide, Toonami. Essentially, this was Cartoon Network for dark edgy kids like myself, who couldn't get enough of Samurai Jack or Batman of the Future. I used to think I was so cool and grown up watching this stuff back then, like a teenage phase before I was even a teenager, but sadly, this channel actually got more childish as time went on. Endless reruns of things like Pokemon took over, followed by atrocious live-action TV shows that looked like they belonged on Trouble.
Catch all this and more from Monday on your all-new Toonami. Bring it on!
I have no idea why they did this, it just completely ruined the atmosphere of the channel, and it's no wonder it closed down in 2007. That's probably the key word when it comes to all of these kids' channels, atmosphere. You didn't always watch a specific channel just because it had one of your favourite shows. A lot of the time it depended on your mood. If you just wanted to turn your brain off, you could always tune into Cartoon Network, but if you felt more adventurous, maybe you craved some action on Jetix, or if you felt grown up, you couldn't resist Toonami, and whenever you were feeling down, a little trip back to your early youth could always cheer you up again. The choice really was yours, but with so many other options for watching stuff now, it's a shame this kind of viewing experience doesn't really exist anymore. There was a lot of fun when it came to exploring the wilds of the Sky TV guide, and this small section is only just scratching the surface, but maybe we'll save the rest for another time. Thanks for watching, and look out for more reviews coming soon.